If you have ever been speaking to somebody, either one-to-one or in a group setting, and have had a sense that they're not really listening to what it is that you're saying, or perhaps you've got the feeling that they're not fully present in the conversation or meeting, then you're absolutely not alone. And you're not alone because of you. I can say with a high degree of certainty that on at least one occasion, somebody who you have been speaking with has had that experience of you. And this is why in today's episode of the Leader's Kit Bag, we're going to talk about listening. The key, critical ingredient of effective communication that often gets forgotten. Hey, I'm Ben Morton. I'm a leadership trainer, executive coach, and keynote speaker. To today's content then. It's absolutely true that as leaders and managers, people pay much more attention to what it is we actually do than what we say or what we say we will do. So if we want to improve the effectiveness and quality of communication that takes place within our team, business or organisation, we absolutely have to model the way ourselves. And that includes being really good at listening. Now, I think it's fair to say that the average standard of listening within many workplaces is actually quite poor. And that's partly because when we talk about listening, we make the assumption that we're talking about one person or a group of people listening to what somebody else is saying. But that's not the reality. In many cases, people aren't listening to what somebody is saying, but actually they're listening for a pause. Sometimes they're watching and listening for the person to take a breath. Why? So that they can jump in and say what they think. So that they can jump in and talk about the stance they've already adopted or their view. And what this means is, a lot of the time, we're not partaking in or experiencing conversations or a dialogue, but rather we're seeing a series of monologues or pitches or presentations where people are just speaking regardless of what the other person has said. Now I've mentioned this to you, pay attention in the meetings you attend and the conversations you have, and you'll see this playing out. So how do we fix it? Well, step one, we've already started. It's simply about increasing our awareness. With better awareness, we can make better choices, and better choices lead to better behaviours and better outcomes. So step one is to tune in and dial up our awareness. Step two comes from the listening expert Oscar Trimbley, who I had on my podcast. And he talks about true listening, or the ability to listen well, starts before we even arrive at the meeting or meet the person we're going to be communicating with. What he and what we mean by that is, it's about setting our intentions before we go into a meeting. It's about getting ourselves in the right state of mind to listen, being ready to listen with an open mind, being ready to hold back before we speak, and setting the intention to go into that conversation and really listen to understand instead of merely listening to speak. Give it a go, and I'm sure you will see some pretty amazing results. That's it for today's episode of the Leader's Kit Bag. As always, look after yourself, look after those you've got the privilege and responsibility to lead. And until next time, lead on.